Webomaniacs, World of Wrestling.
Get caught up in the web every Thursday and Saturday here in Webomaniacs, World of Wrestling.
You're supposed to meet me out front. It's
and I'm here at your doorstep with the World Heavyweight Championship.
wow, that's strong, brother. He's got Hulkamania wristbands on.
Sign on the dotted line.
I will, brother.
And surrender the title to me.
Whoa!
Wow.
What?
Out of your mouth. We're gonna start out on the right foot. I got something that'll keep you going all day long, Daddy. Don't worry about a thing, brother. This is the eye of the Hulkster, man. You gotta get your head right.
Oh, no.
This is the only way to go.
Well, welcome, folks. We're going to talk to you today about where will we watch WWE, as it's been due to the merger, as to SmackDown leaving Fox, going back to the USA Network. We'll talk about that. We're also going to talk to you about a new name for Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill, of course, was in AEW, but now we're going to talk to you about a name that she's actually filed copyright for, filed a patent for. And Wrestle Dream, a dream or a nightmare for Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega, teaming up after being bloodthirsty enemies all through the inception of AEW. We'll talk to you more about that as well. TV time remaining, or picture in picture, and they go to the break. We'll talk to you about that, but there's no break. Stay tuned. And I'm going to ask you my personal question of the cast here, as I'm going to call it, as you know, I just have this one question that I'm going to start asking on each show. And I'm going to call it Question of the Cast. That's coming up in just a little bit. Life after WWE's 90-day no-compete clause. What happens to stars? Do they go to work for the competition, or do they stay at home? Other ones that have had name changes, we'll tell you about those, as well as a lot more here on Webomaniacs World of Wrestling. Webomaniacs World of Wrestling. It is just that. It is a world that we wrestle in, whether it's for titles, whether it's for peace of mind. We're always wrestling with something. Even in our own reality, we're wrestling with issues that we deal with on a daily. Webomaniacs World of Wrestling is much more than just wrestling. However, on this show, we do discuss really nothing but wrestling, but the whole channel, as it's named, Webomaniacs World of Wrestling, you can wrestle with issues such as cooking, karaoke, life situations, just you name it, you're going to find it here on my channel. So thanks for watching Webomaniacs World of Wrestling every Thursday and Saturday here on YouTube. Is football going to kill the WWE? Because as with the merger and with Fox no longer handling SmackDown's going back to the USA Network. They tried that once before and didn't really pan out that great. Fans loved it when they could actually tune in on a different network to be able to find SmackDown, because some didn't necessarily include USA Network. That's why a lot of times when you had this A versus B rated show, it's because certain folks out there, certain customers, just didn't have the funds to pay to get certain networks included in their subscriptions. It's as simple as that. So obviously when you going to catch the wrestling, you're going to catch it when you can catch it, just as I did back in the days whenever I could only watch superstars of the WWF and they had Wrestling Challenge and I didn't have a chance to watch Wrestling Challenge. Only two that I got a chance to watch was WWF Superstars and Primetime Wrestling. And you know, you make or break a way to watch once you're hooked in, and we hope we have you hooked in here to talk about wrestling. And I'd like to know what you would like to talk about, as we'll discuss it here on the show. But where are we going to watch? Where will Raw be going to? Because it's been reported that Raw will be leaving USA Network. Where is it going to go? It's not going to Fox like SmackDown just came from. No, that's doesn't make sense at all. What it appears that certain conspiracy theorists have been reporting could become true. You might be having to pay a Prime Amazon account to be able to watch Monday Night Raw. And if that happens, a lot of people get their main energized storyline from Monday Night Raw. Because, as we know, during the Monday Night Wars, it's Raw, it's Raw. You know, you had Vince out there, you had Macho Man out there, Hacksaw was out there, Heenan, all of them or something was actually out there telling you, you know, that Raw was the place to be. And if it's not going to be the place to be, where will we as fans be? Is football, in the industry that it's in, is it going to kill WWE? Because, let's face it, you had that loud pop from The Rock, a former, not only Hall of Famer, from WWE and everything, but he also played football. And he made a big to-do in putting the pads on and coming out running on the field and everything just prior to even knowing that he was making a return to WWE. If you can call what he's had a return. I don't even see a match taking place. Just as we've seen with John Cena getting jumped. And he's going to have to go in at it. And they're going to probably have a mystery partner is the way the build is going to go for that one. Stay tuned and you'll see with what happens involving Cena and Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa. And Roman's been absent. There's no news is good news on that one there, because Roman's just roaming around, I guess. And the one that's originally thought that they were groomed as tribal chief is no longer even there. You don't even see Jay except on Raw, but where are you going to see him if we don't get a chance to see Raw? It's going to make for a very confusing way to try to follow pay-per-view events. And that's another thing. Pay-per-view events, have you ever watched just one behind the other that came within a sequence of that year? In other words, did you watch all of the WrestleManias 1 through 39? Did you watch all of the SummerSlams 1 through, 37 or something like that? And in each case, if you watch them one behind the other like that, even if you randomly went to another one from, say, 87 to 2003 or something, you'll notice big changes. Things change within the company as the blink of an eye or something. I mean, look at it here. We no longer have guys like Bray Wyatt. He's gone on to truly rest in peace. So when The Undertaker won that one, yes, he did indeed rest in peace on this one here. But in talking about whether or not it will actually ruin WWE, because personally my opinion is that football and wrestling have been butting heads for years and decades. And look at it. Look at the continuity that you have in wrestling. You have 39 WrestleManias. And the Super Bowl's been around a lot longer than that. But I mean, in the climbing up, we always heard, oh, this is going to be bigger than a Super Bowl. This is going to be bigger than the Grammys. This is going to be bigger than the VMAs. You know, and it's the old proverbial use something as a stepping stone to create your own greatness. Well, another person that's pretty great here that I'll talk about here is female wrestler in AEW, who was your TBS champion for, I believe, like 56-1, with one loss to none other than Chris Statlander and everything. But we're talking about, of course, Jade Cargill, or at least that's how we've known her to be, is Jade Cargill. Well, she filed for a copyright patent on the name Jade Parker, or Jada Parker is way I understand this one. So let's look at the career here of this woman, which we know as Jade. And of course, when you go to WWE, you have to change your name, essentially. That's just how the business goes. They make you change your name, they turn you into something either you don't want to be, or they let you stay with the character that you're going to be. And Jade reminds me a lot of Jazz. I don't know if anyone remembers Jazz, but Jazz had such physical domination on her women opponents, and some men didn't want to step to Jazz. It was, of course, shortly after Jazz we had China, and China came in, and of course China, rest her soul, that China actually was beating up on men. And until you got into the likes of somebody like Chris Jericho or something, of course, Chris Jericho, no stranger to beating up women. So, it just, the opinion I have on Jade Parker, for whoever Jade Parker becomes in the WWE in the weeks to follow, we'll just have to wait and see. But in our heart of hearts, us fans who cheered for Jade and had that musical entrance that reminded me, believe it or not, it actually reminded me of Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson, who had that, she's got that horseman mentality about her, or something. We can look this up, down, sideways, and back, and again, and Jade deserves stardom when she comes in, and she should not be known for who she was. The same way as when you have a Rob Van Dam who comes in as RVD. Okay, that's not hard to figure out. Rob Van Dam, the whole effing show. Well, I mentioned Chris Jericho, and from what I saw just last night, on Friday night's Rampage, AEW's Rampage, Chris Jericho came out and was trying to get his hands on Don Callis. And lo and behold, everything with the storyline involving the breakup of the Jericho Appreciation Society, the epitome in sports entertainment, yeah. Every aspect of that storyline of them leaving Jericho, only to have Sammy Guevara stand by his side, and in true heel turn, when you turn in heel, like Sammy Guevara was pretty much already always a heel, I don't think he really liked getting cheered. I think he liked being that one that got booed, because if you're booed, you're more along the lines of the rest of this world where we say we walk into a supermarket, we don't care who we see, what the person's wearing, if this is stuck out, if that's stuck out, if this is too short, if that's too high, or something. We just don't. It's a don't care type of an attitude or something. So when you're a heel and you can show those fans, I don't care either. I don't care about you as much as you think you don't care about me. But in the long haul, when the careers wind down, when they actually become humble to who they are and bring out their real names for who they are, either they bring it out while they're alive and they retroflect, or we bring it up in death after something like happened with certain other wrestlers that we've lost. I digress. But Chris Jericho, as he was going in to get his hands on Don Callis, and who should actually be wanting to attack him right there but Sammy Guevara. Chris charged out there, not even caring who was going to be out there pummeling on him. He knew the numbers game was going to catch up on him and everything. But what he didn't know was somebody else wanted to get their hands on Don Callis as well. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend. There's that particular phrase. And for Chris Jericho, his enemy throughout the inception of AEW, since its beginning time, his opponent has always been Kenny Omega. Well, Omega made the save, came in, actually voiced it on microphone that I actually do this because I want to get my hands on Don Callis, and it's got nothing to do with being your friend. But Jericho talked him into teaming up to take on the Don Callis family at Wrestle Dream. Now, what is Wrestle Dream? Wrestle Dream sounds like a play on words of WrestleMania, if you ask me. But to tell you the truth, as I've been watching AEW since its beginning, I don't really feel it has any one event like a WrestleMania. And to some degree, WrestleMania in the glamour and spectacle that it is and was, it hasn't been anything to really settle scores at, or it hasn't been the driving force for what you want to watch anymore. They've added too many more pay-per-views. We've got one coming up with the Elimination Chamber, and people got to qualify for that. We'll have to, follow on another broadcast for that one, as we're just about 22 minutes in here. And I want to also, as we're talking about time, TV time remaining. TV time remaining goes back to the days of the NWA and good old JR, and say, we'll show you what happens if we run out of time, folks. We'll show you what happens next week. Well, that only worked for so long. But the ideal of being able to rehook someone in by telling you, we're going to stay with this match, but we're going to go to picture in picture. You won't miss a thing. And then they show you so many ads with the picture in picture, but the one part you need to see that showed you what the turnaround point was in the match or something, they showed one ad in full screen or something, and you just and the match didn't end. That's the other thing. That's what I wanted to bring about here, is the fact, wouldn't it be cool if you're AEW and you want your competition, WWE, to notice some changes? Then don't try to be like WWE. Just because they were already successful as a McMahon family, let's not kid ourselves. These represent McMahon family heritage. And it was due to things like those that got us to where we are, where McMahon's feeling more like any of the other washed up wrestlers that actually, and that's no offense to anybody when I say washed up. I'm only referring to, you've gone your full time in the ring, you've paid your debts to the fans, you paid all your dues necessary. It is a respect thing, not a put down thing when I say washed up. Because let's face it, you have to wash up for dinner. You have to wash your hands, you have to get ready to sit at that table. And you can finally sit at that table and actually enjoy the career that was in fact you. That's all McMahon is doing in this merger, but he's also trying to be really slick in the sense that he's going to be trying to sell his shares of the company for $3 billion is the last that I heard. And that if he does that, he won't be under a company that other people are trying to sue him for or something, because he won't have had the company at that point in time. So it's very slick on his part to actually go with TKO Holdings as he's doing here. And the air's just been let out of him. That's why he doesn't necessarily care about titles. That's why he doesn't care about what happens in the business here anymore. To him, he's written down to his last inside his ink pen, it's running dry. That's what's happening there. But in getting back to what I was telling you about, as far as like TV time remaining in picture, what would you say if you're the opponent, in this case AEW, and they do something completely new and actually show you an ending of a match where they had to actually show you what happened during that commercial? That would be pretty entertaining, to say the least. And it would actually keep you on the hook to say, what did I miss? As opposed to, well, they're going to the top rope, they're doing a suicide dive, next thing you know, he's going to the break, I got time to go to the bathroom, see you, don't want to be you. Well, what event do you look most to? There's my question of the cast. What event do you look most to seeing? And this could be any of the events. It could be anything from AEW. It could be something from past things like ECW. It could be something from WCW. Personally, for me, as long as they won't kill the thrill behind the actual meaning for what the Royal Rumble was designed to be, when Pat Patterson set out to, okay, let's take a battle royal and turn it to something where they throw them over the top rope elimination. I love the Royal Rumble, and it will be coming to Orlando. It will be coming to Orlando for this year's Royal Rumble. Mark your calendars when you get that one. When we talk about people like Jade Cargill, who just left the AEW to come to WWE, what happens in the reverse? What happens after those 90-day no-compete contracts expire, after a WWE star has been let go and sent to be good luck in your future endeavors? What happens? It depends on the star, what they've accomplished, what they feel more they need to accomplish, and what's more so is staying home all but tortures you once you've actually made it into that ring. Personally, in a real professional ring, I haven't necessarily made it there, and I never will. At the age of 53 here, yeah, okay. I'm not gonna make it there. My lifelong dream was to always be a referee and travel with them or something, and I would love to be able to be the one to count those shoulders. 1, 2, 3, or count them out, disqualification, whichever it was. But hit me with a steel chair. If I can get up, I'll hit you back. That's the way I would have done it. But life after the contract expires, people like the one we know as Top Dollar. Now, the only relevancy of Top Dollar that's meant anything to me in a fan perspective wise is seeing him on the WWE Lost Treasures, where they went out hunting around, finding certain treasures so that they could put them in a museum, because the ones that are making this museum, I got the strongest feeling they knew what was going to happen involving Endeavor and WWE. They knew, let's get our hands on as much material from the past as we possibly can, and then we can charge a fortune to let them come see it. That's my personal opinion on the WWE treasures. So people like Top Dollar, who had his worst flop as Flop Dollar, going over the top rope and just, it gave Titus O'Neil hope for the future, basically, or it put the spotlight off of Titus from that best Royal Rumble ever, greatest Royal Rumble ever, where all of a sudden now you see him and now you don't. But also guys are gone, like Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle was released from WWE, as well as Top Dollar. Now, Top Dollar has filed for his own name, and he just wants to be known as Dollar. Now, I don't know where he's going. He could show up in Impact. He could show up in AEW. I don't know necessarily with what Tony Khan and them have in store for him. But that also brings me to one of the closers that I've got here for you. I learned information that that Wardlow, who we haven't seen since he lost the TNT Championship to Luchasaurus, according to a report that was on the internet, it was actually involving the fact that Wardlow feels depressed, not just on what happened to him or something. It wasn't a storyline on camera kind of thing or something. He went off scene and you haven't seen him, and it goes to show you that if you're that much of a fan like I am or something, you can actually, like, you see things that you want to see, you see things that you don't want to see, but then you're like, how come I'm not seeing it? How come I'm not seeing Wardlow come out there doing a powerbomb symphony or something? Those are the type things a real wrestling fan will actually want to follow through. And we're going to follow through with more next time here in Webomaniacs World of Wrestling. Thanks for tuning in, folks.